The dragons, those popular mythical beings in medieval Europe and in the Chinese culture, symbolized all the vital forces of traditions, the backbone of the earth itself, transforming the power of what is deep and profound. The dragons had the gift of flight. They could fly to the highest level. One of them took on the form of a human being and stalked the earth, leaving his mark behind. He was here for a short time because in reality he belonged to the world of dreams. But before he ventured on his flight, he wanted to show us that man himself can fly too. Bruce Lee was not only the most famous martial arts screen stars of all times, but behind his public image, there was a real person, a martial arts master, a philosopher, a friend. His untimely death converted him into a myth, but beyond the myth is the man and his legacy. What was the other Bruce Lee like, and what legacy did he leave us? Almost 30 years have gone by since his death. The aim of this program is to analyze how Bruce Lee was seen by some of his intimate friends, direct students, and the students of the last generation of his art. Jeet Kune Do, the way of the interceptor fist, was the name that Bruce Lee chose to define his teaching combinations. The side that is best known by the public is that of the actor, screenwriter, and even film director. He created a new style of action films, nowadays highly popular. His secrets as a fighter were shared with 4 men. The first one was the late James Lee. The second one is Taki Kimura, who is retired. The third, Danny Nosanto, one of the most prolific JKD masters, who has trained some of the world's best JKD masters in the art of Bruce Lee. The fourth martial artist is Ted Wong, one of the few direct students of Bruce Lee's, originally from China. He was Bruce Lee's shadow, his training partner and friend for many years.
I studied under Bruce Lee was in 1967, early 1967, and I was very fortunate to accepted into his class in Chinatown, Los Angeles. And later on, he took me in as his private student and workout partner. And I consider very honored and very fortunate to be able to train with him and to learn many knowledge from him.
Cass Magda is Canadian. He was a student and personal secretary of Danny Nosanto for 5 years. At the moment, he teaches Jeet Kune Do, an Indonesian martial arts work with which he combines with his movie acting career.
Well, because I wanted to become a liberated martial artist, that I was dissatisfied with Taekwondo, that I wanted something realistic, and I was fascinated by Bruce Lee's philosophy and the Jeet Kune Do ideas of self-realization.
Burton Richardson, a student of Danny Nosanto's, is the founder of Jeet Kune Do Unlimited, author of many books and videos on the art of Bruce Lee. Burton has a school in Hawaii and regularly teaches in the United States.
I think Bruce Lee was mainly an example of setting goals and reaching goals, because this is what he did in all aspects of his life. And he did it so well, especially under the conditions he was in at that time, that I think that's why so many people still look up to him.
Joaquin Almeria is one of Danny Nosanto's student, actor, and internationally known Jeet Kune Do expert. At present, Joaquin Almeria lives in Las Vegas and regularly teaches courses in Europe, the United States, and South America.
Era un gran estudioso de la filosofía y sobre todo fue un gran amigo, padre de familia, y el legado que nos dejó detrás básicamente es un legado de inspiración.
Bob Doblojanin is a student of Cass Magda's and Danny Nosanto's, expert in Southeast Asiatic art and Jeet Kune Do. Bob Doblojanin lives and teaches in Germany.
I think Bruce Lee means many things to many different people. To me, he is one of the greatest martial artists of the 20th century, probably, and also a huge movie star who really created a new film genre, the martial arts movies.
Bruce Lee's contribution was not that of reviving tradition. His step was qualitative. It was one of those steps that dramatically overturned evolution. The martial artist converts himself into the center of attention in front of the art or the styles that he practices. Indeed, this is a revolution of individual talent opposed to traditional schools that push their students to adapt themselves to styles. Bruce Lee tells us to select that which is useful from each style and simply learn to let go of the rest. His message was direct. Traveling free of luggage will make us go faster. John Pellegrini is the founder of Hapkido Combat Style, an instructor of the Green Beret of the United States Army.
We will be very, very hard to find another one like him. His death was a tragedy. It was something, you know, very premature, very sad, but he still, in a short life, he left us a tremendous legacy.
Bruce Lee. Very few men are recalled with such respect and admiration in the world of martial arts and cinema. He was the one responsible for opening the secrets of Kung Fu to the West, secrets well guarded by his forefathers. Through the great screen, he made martial arts popular.
Actually, right now, it's only 30 years after his passing. There will be a time when it's 300 years after his passing, and I really believe people will still be reading his writings, looking at what he did and how he accomplished so much, and using those, again, as blueprints for their everyday life.
La influencia de Bruce Lee, después de casi 30 años de su muerte, es tan fuerte o más fuerte de cuando murió. Y no importa que hayan pasado 30 años o que pasen 300, algunos mensajes son eternos.
Well, he can change people's life because he's such a huge inspiration. If you see somebody who's great and outstanding, he will never be forgotten. He will always be inspiration.
So, and at that time, you know, how old was I? I would think I was 14, 15, you know, right around that time you start questioning all these things about what life's about. I open up a magazine and there I see this article called Liberate Yourself from classical karate. I had studied classical karate, and he was talking about all these things. I thought, geez, this would be great to know this. So from then on I tried to see if I could find the people that were associated with Bruce.
Mike Anderson is the father of sport karate or full contact. He is one of the pioneers of the modern conception of combat sport. He is the director of the Professional Karate magazine. He was Bruce Lee's friend and sparring partner.
I think Bruce Lee's greatest contribution to the martial arts was to get everybody in the state of mind to accept every other martial art, and take the best that each martial art has to offer for you and your particular body size. See, many years ago, the martial arts were very fragmented, and the Japanese stylists, Okinawan stylists, Chinese stylists, Korean stylists, they didn't associate with one another. To the contrary, they would always badmouth each other. Bruce got the point across that said, hey, learn a little bit from all the styles and take what is best for you.
Just throw a punch, and maybe
Joe Louis, the undefeatable full-contact heavyweight champion, is without doubt the man whose opinion carries a weight in the United States of America. As an actor, his career was short but intense, like participating in one of the films of the 70s directed by John Huston. He is respected by all of the great fighters of the 20th century and was a very close friend of Bruce Lee's. They trained together many times, and Bruce Lee always went to see his fights.
What was Bruce Lee's greatest contribution? Would have to be his filmmaking. Think about it now. One of us, a martial artist, became the most famous Asian film star of all time. That's unheard of. So it's kind of like what he left us with is in the deepest part of our imagination, in the theater of our minds, we could all believe that, hey, that's something maybe one of us could do. So he allowed us to be able to believe in our dreams, believe in the impossible, and I think that's important.
Ralph Castro was a very intimate friend of Bruce Lee and his family. He is a Kempo master and one of the living legends of martial arts in the United States.
Yeah, Bruce, we're very, very good friends. In the early years when we first met Bruce, it was through my very late friend, Jimmy Lee. Of course, he was a student of Bruce Lee. Jimmy Lee called me at my home, and and Ed Park was visiting me, and he mentioned that, hey, you got to come down, you guys, and see this guy here. We said, why? He says, this guy's fantastic.
Hirokazu Kanazawa is the most important international karate master of the 20th century. Many people consider him as the best karate artist of all times.
彼はやっぱりこのマーシャルアーツ、特に空手の世界に宣伝していく、宣伝するという意味においては大きな効果を成してくれたと思います。
But it is in the film world where Bruce Lee left his seal of influence. A new class of action films was born directly from his genius, and this includes most of the actors of action films who came in the following decades, such as Jackie Chan, Chuck Norris, Sammo Hung, etc. Actors and martial artists such as Steven Seagal, Van Damme, Richard Norton appeared in his films, and all of those who came after Bruce Lee are in debt to him for the class of film from which they make a living. Richard Norton is a world-famous Australian actor and martial art expert.
Well, you know, obviously, as we all know, he pretty much introduced the whole idea of the action genre martial art movie. I still remember going to see Enter the Dragon for the first time, and the effect, of course, was astounding. He was, you know, really was ahead of his time as far as how to translate what he did onto the big screen. But we were brought up very much on a John Wayne type fight where you go into the bar and there's this big pullback and a wallop, you know, and a big reaction. And the people in the audience had a chance to go, wow, you know, they had a chance to see the punch start and to see the punch end. And nowadays, I think what Bruce started is what is a situation now where people are a lot more educated in the way of fights, whether it's a Western-style boxing match or an Asian-style martial art match. And again, Bruce was the first to be very innovative in the way he translated that.
As a fighter, fighters have professional fight records. Actors have what we call film credits, how many films they have done. Bruce had a lot of film credits. You know, he did 6 films, I think, before he passed away. He had no professional fight record. If you had to say who is the best or top candidates in the world for being the greatest martial artist of all time, you got the sport aspects, you got the combat aspects, you got the entertainment aspects. You'd have to make him the top candidate.
He made martial arts movies very popular. Before him, martial arts movies virtually did not exist. Now they are extremely popular. So he invented the martial art movie.
Leung Ting was a student of Jip Man's and a senior of Bruce Lee's in the Wing Chun style.
Bruce Lee is a very good actor. And of course, I can say, even up to now, he's still the greatest martial art actor in the movies. And of course, he was the first one who used the real Chinese Kung Fu. I can say he's the first one who shows the real Chinese Kung Fu on the screen. That's why he's so successful.
Hiro Mochizuki is a traditional Japanese master of Joseikan Budo, one of the most important and innovative traditional styles.
Bruce Lee, c'est lui qui, je pense, donne un développement de arts martiaux. Il a aidé beaucoup de développement d'arts martiaux grâce en utilisant le cinéma, film. Vibration, je vois, il fait bonne vibration, même concentration, force qui vient de l'intérieur. C'est quelqu'un très bien.
Rene Latosa is master of the art of Philippine Latosa Eskrima and is known worldwide in the arts of combat.
probably without him, a lot of this would not exist. And I think that he brought the charismatic aspect to martial arts.
Anything a fighter can do to make his techniques more powerful by being able to put like more conviction into his execution will make him a better fighter. That's one thing that Bruce did for me. Mike Stone told me to go train with him, and I trusted Mike. To be a good fighter, you need to understand what goes on underneath the execution of your techniques. Like, what are the principles that underlie the execution of a fast punch or a deceptive kick or a very powerful movement? And those are the things which Bruce brought to my fighting skills.
But his other inheritance, the least known by the public, is what we will focus on today. Alfredo Tucci is the director of the most important martial arts magazine worldwide, the only one that is published monthly in 7 languages. He is the publisher of Bruce Lee in the Spanish language.
Bruce Lee sigue siendo la referencia en el mundo de las artes marciales. Una portada con Bruce Lee sigue suponiendo en todos los países donde llegamos con la revista una diferencia sustancial en ventas. Este es un fenómeno único, no se da con ninguna otra persona y parece mentira porque hace ya 30 años que prácticamente que Bruce Lee nos dejó.
In modern day, whether it's in the year 2002 or the year 2042, I think his legacy is that he showed you how to set goals, how to accomplish those goals. He's really been a great role model. I think that's where people will look to Bruce Lee always. You'll see someone who's just at the pinnacle, physically and mentally, and it's someplace that almost everybody wants to go.
Yeah.
If you want to live a life where you feel good about yourself, you really need to do what's right for you. You need to live with integrity. And this is what he was talking about when he said you have to be free. If I just follow someone else's path, I'm just imitating. Rather than imitating, I have to express myself, and I have to be myself. And this is when we find fulfillment in life.
The people who are in the martial arts world have probably, because of him, a much wider view, a much expanded view on martial arts.
Many things that are done in Jeet Kune Do are based on research, analysis, and your attitude as a practitioner. It is about learning the fundamentals, the philosophy, and the techniques of Bruce Lee.
There's this idea now that Jeet Kune Do is an accumulation of 26 different styles that Bruce Lee studied. This is kind of like saying that, you know, everything that you've ever studied is you put together and made a style out of it. This isn't true. The foundation of Jeet Kune Do is Jeet Kune Do, and it's not boxing, it's not grappling, it's not Wing Chun put together. It is the foundation of Jeet Kune Do is the techniques and the principles that Bruce Lee was doing up until the time of his death. That's what we call the foundation.
What Bruce Lee was against is blindly following tradition. But one of the concepts, the ideas that he taught was that you learn a principle, that you follow a principle, and that you dissolve the principle. Many people want to jump to the third step before they actually done the first two. I mean, then you're dissolving or rejecting something you don't really have experience, or you haven't had the chance to discover.
Well, he look at different system, basically see if he can learn something from it. If there's something he can use, probably he would definitely take the idea from it. The important thing is not to take any segment from it and add to what he add into his structure. And he would take an idea and if fit into his structure, fine. But if not, then maybe he can modify it and to fit the structure. But once after he worked with the idea and make some modification, the same idea will not be fit back to the where he took it from. I think that's very important for him to do that, and that's his idea of try to apply many different knowledge into his art.
Fabricio Verdum is a world open jiu-jitsu champion. He represents a new generation of top athletes that were born after the death of Bruce Lee.
Eu acho que o Bruce Lee foi um grande mito das artes marciais e para a nova geração agora do jiu-jitsu foi muito importante para nós, não como só para o jiu-jitsu, para todas as artes marciais. E o Bruce Lee, como praticava jiu-jitsu, e tinha não só essa ideia de ser só o jiu-jitsu, como a mente do Bruce Lee era mais aberta, né? Que ele fazia ele queria fazer um pouco de cada coisa, né? Um pouco de tudo, queria aprender de todas as maneiras, como no jiu-jitsu, né? O Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu era o jiu-jitsu tradicional. E agora, já como foi passando o tempo, foi passando gerações, agora o Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu está muito mais evoluído que antes. Agora tem o Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, pro nosso próprio estilo. Então o brasileiro criou o estilo do solo.
Bruce Lee was born in America, but grew up in Hong Kong. His father, who was an eminent actor for the Peking Opera, was on tour in the United States when Grace, Bruce Lee's mother, gave birth to Little Dragon in a hospital in San Francisco. Bruce was first called Junfan, which means return to San Francisco. But after that, because of superstition, his name was changed to that of a female to confuse the bad spirits. Finally, one of the midwives in the hospital gave him his English name, with which he would be famous, Bruce Lee. Bruce was brought up on the streets of Hong Kong. This is where he first learned martial arts. He started his martial arts training when he was very young. He learned the Wing Chun system directly from Jip Man, a style based on short combat techniques. For the following 4 or 5 years, he trained assiduously, and when he was 18 years old, he traveled to the United States. There he learned about other styles. That confrontation and openness of the Americans towards all that is new is what opened his mind to other horizons.
Quizá una de las mayores aportaciones de Bruce Lee y del Jeet Kune Do es la de cuestionar la tradición. A pesar de que Bruce Lee era un hombre con un gran talento y sin duda era un hombre que estaba en el lugar adecuado en el momento oportuno, él tenía un gran carisma, tenía una gran fuerza, era un personaje con una gran personalidad, pero no hay que olvidar que todo es producto del medio y en cierto modo Bruce Lee, por el hecho de estar en California en plena época beat, en el momento de la contracultura, de los hippies, etc., supo hacer esa misma reflexión contra la tradición que estaba viendo que tenía lugar en ese momento y en ese lugar del planeta con toda intensidad.
He learned about other arts such as karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, boxing, western eskrima, etc., which meant a tremendous impact on a youth eager to learn and whose martial experience was still restricted by the Chinese tradition. His ideas about combat were greatly affected, and his energies and evolution went in search for a total fighting system.
I could say that I just want to do as many different techniques as possible. So I could start saying if he comes in here and I do this sort of thing and I come in, right, I work to this sort of thing, possibly back here. Okay, these are possible techniques. But Bruce Lee said that the idea is to only use what works, what actually works. Now this is the philosophy that guides JKD.
Bruce Lee was converted into the greatest martial artist of all times. At the same time, he was acting in the television series The Green Hornet in the role of Kato, therefore, indeed skyrocketing in his popularity.
After many years of research and development, and he finally come to a conclusion that he had to develop a total martial art that will cover 4 different range. The first range will be the kicking range, which is a longer range, and there will be a punching range and trapping and grappling range, etc. And he started his martial arts based on economy of motion, simplicity and directness. And subsequently, he called his martial art Jeet Kune Do.
Bruce Lee empezó su carrera marcial en Hong Kong. Su padre era un maestro de Tai Chi y muy poca gente sabe esto, pero el primer arte marcial que aprendió Bruce Lee fue Tai Chi con su padre. Luego su tío le enseñó también y finalmente ya buscó formación, digamos, formal o tradicional de Yip Man en el estilo del Wing Chun. Cuando dejó Hong Kong para irse a Estados Unidos, allí conoció a muchos otros maestros de artes marciales. Bruce Lee era muy inquieto y siempre estaba buscando aprender de cualquier persona que le pudiese enseñar. Tomó contacto con muchos judokas, con estilos japoneses, con estilos de boxeo occidental, y todas esas influencias fueron las que le ayudaron a crear su propio estilo, su propia expresión, que se plasma en lo que hoy conocemos como Jeet Kune Do.
I believe that JKD, besides just the physical martial art, is more about self-evaluation, introspection, and seeing where you are weak, and then building up those weaknesses. It's just about constant improvement in every aspect of your life. A big part of that is honesty, so that you can see truthfully in yourself and say, you know, I really need to work on this, and then go about doing it. So JKD is about constant improvement.
Tim Tackett is one of those old masters with an international reputation on the art of Bruce Lee.
Well, using no way as a way, it means that that there's no set. Bruce kind of played around with philosophy, you know, and that real Taoist kind of stuff, you know, and Zen Buddhist thing. But using no way as a way is saying that there is no system, there is no style that is my path. There is no pathway that I'm going to follow to get to the end of this road. I may deviate off different things as things happen. So my mindset is not to say this is the truth. The truth, and make that a truth with a capital T, is always outside of all fixed patterns. Any system is a fixed pattern. It's fixed. There is this thing, truth is encapsulated into this, so that you have Polish martial arts truth and you have Hungarian martial arts truth. But truth is outside of all of that. It's only a partial truth. So if you say, well, my Polish martial art is better than your Hungarian martial art, all you're saying is my cage that I'm trapped in is better than your cage that you're trapped in, because they're both trapped in cages because they're thinking in one way. So you want to use no way as the way. That's basically that attitude.
To me, Bruce Lee's martial art consists of, it's an art, a science, and a philosophy. You know, most styles are, this is the beginning and this is the end. They're closed. In JKD, the philosophy, because it's about growth and totality and self-expression in combat, it's not closed. It's open-ended.
My most memorable experience with Bruce had to be when they had the premiere of the movie Marlowe in 1969 in Dallas, Texas. For the premiere, we did a series of demonstrations, and Bruce chose me to be his sparring partner because I was the only one close to his size. And in one of the demonstrations, I held up a kicking dummy on my shoulder, and Bruce hit me with a side kick, and I flew right through the air. I flew 15 feet into the crowd, and I was really amazed at the power of this kick because it almost broke my shoulder. It went right through the kicking pad, the power of his kick.
Jae-ok Myung is the president of the Hapkido Federation and his 10th Dan.
형성되는 것입니다. 그런데 그 젊은 나이에 아주 짧은 거리에서 길을 통해 가지고 상대를 공격을 해서 제압을 했을 그 가치가 참 훌륭하다. 그 젊은 나이에 어떻게 거기까지 수련을 했는가 하는 것은 내가 깊이 높게 평가를 하는 것입니다.
JKD really goes beyond any borders or ethnicities. Again, it's experiential. It's not about the style, but as Bruce Lee would say, the person is more important than the style. So regardless of what your ethnicity is, it's about you becoming the very best of yourself. And you can use JKD or some other art as a vehicle to become your very best.
And Jeet Kune Do, when I was learning with Dan, was about drawing parallels between things, looking at things and noting similarities here, differences here. Why are they like that? How are they the same, but yet they're different? And to key in on that, not to try to learn what they're doing and learn what they're doing and learn it, because you'll go crazy trying to learn everything. It is not going to help you become a better fighter, you know. But to know what they're doing and why, and then how they're similar, and then how to try to find that in what you're doing, that's an important part of our Jeet Kune Do training.
To a certain extent, Jeet Kune Do inherited the Wing Chun idea that the highest combat action consists of intercepting the attack of the opponent. It got to a level where the terminology was just one name, which included something much greater, a complete combat conception based on characteristic that is very American, pragmatism. Nowadays they are fused into one. The two cultures nourished his life, and Bruce Lee acquired a new dimension and entered into a modern level. He is not a Chinese man in America. He is an exponent of the culture of the future, the culture of the fusion of the Orient and the West. Martial arts of the future will be connected to this achievement, and to a high degree, we can say that to a certain extent, it is based on the doors opened by Bruce Lee.
I believe that JKD will continue to improve and evolve, and what I think will really, really help in the future is technology. Right now, we have this limitation in our sparring because that's where we experience, like Bruce Lee said, get in the water. We experience martial arts through actually fighting, and the drawback is the safety. I think in the future, we'll have such great safety equipment that we can actually have people fight very, very hard every single day without any injury. And when we can get to that point technologically, the skill level is just going to go through the roof.
In many ways, Bruce Lee was ahead of his time. He was the first one to create the concept of total fitness, in which both aspects were mixed, training with weight or resistance, the cardiovascular and flexibility.
For a guy who only weighed 138 pounds, and he weighed less than that when he passed away, he hit extremely hard. He could hit as hard as a heavyweight. He had real fast twitch muscle fibers, something he's born with. He trained hard. He worked on a lot of his stabilizers and muscles, and especially his speed. I always thought he was like the fastest guy who ever stood in front of me. He had incredible, what I call kind of a Zen level of consciousness. In psychology, we call it the implicit level of consciousness. You didn't know when he was going to squeeze that trigger, and he always knew when you weren't ready. He had blinding speed, especially with his hands. And I know that's because he stood in front of me and he popped me a few times. So I've always told people, I know how hard Bruce Lee could hit. I know how fast he was because he nailed me. And I've always told people, I know what real Jeet Kune Do was because I got popped with it a few times.
Long before aerobics training became a fashion, he had defended its basis. He was the creator of the protection for combat just as they are recognized nowadays. He invented and transformed the training machines. He was a writer, a designer, a philosopher, and a man of many talents.
Bruce Lee is the same as maybe as a sculptor Michelangelo, as a musician Mozart. There is a Bruce Lee born every 100 years. Everybody wants to imitate him. Everybody wants to say they study under him, with him. Everybody got their picture taken with him. Everybody. The fact remains that there was only one Bruce Lee, and that it will only be one Bruce Lee. It was a unique thing. It was a unique human being. He was different. He had something special.
And for sure, most of you did not know that. Bruce Lee was a champion of cha-cha-cha of Hong Kong.
And it was very fascinating. He would always like to demonstrate the things that, what he does, a lot of people can't do it. He was just a good entertainer. He was a very strong person, very knowledgeable in martial arts because he did a lot of reading. Funny guy, very entertaining, and was a good friend.
Much has been written and said about Bruce Lee's martial mastery and about his physical feats, but the human side still remains unknown to all of us. There is a tendency of making a myth of the idol, but you still have to keep in mind the man.
This is an interesting story. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, famous basketball player. Bruce Lee used to bring him over my karate school a number of times. One time, we went down to Chinatown to eat. Walk in the restaurant and hear all these little short Chinese guys, and Bruce and I are with this huge giant. You know, Bruce is only 5'7", so it's not like there are a lot of tall people there. Bruce has him set up a table for us to eat back in the kitchen. I said, Bruce, why the heck are we sitting back here in the kitchen? This is embarrassing. He says, Joe, you never trust Chinese cooks. You sit in the kitchen, you watch them prepare the food. And I've remembered that to this day.
The relationship grew very, very strong. Because I think a good incident happened when kids, you know, were told that, hey, my father knows Bruce Lee, you know how other kids would kind of be pretty bad saying, oh yes, my mom knows this or my dad knows this too. I had Bruce Lee go pick up the children one day. And he was at a Catholic school, St. Joseph, and I said, Bruce, can you do me a favor? Would you go pick up the children, you know? He said, sure. And when he walked in the room, he says, I'm here to pick up April, May and June. The class went wild. And so the sister says, Mr. Bruce Lee, I'm very impressed that you're here, but you're interrupting the class. And so we laughed. But that was the funny thing about the kids, you know, enjoying Bruce Lee.
Bruce was one of the nicest persons really I ever met. And he was very animated and very enthused about the things he did. And I always felt he was very Hollywood-like. He was a man who had really a tremendous amount of energy, and he was a person who gave a lot of people recognition, who deserved recognition, and I really liked him personally. I thought he was one of the nicest people I ever met in the martial arts.
He probably wouldn't want anybody to answer that, but he was more Chinese in his private life than he was like on screen or when he was doing like martial art demonstrations. Very reserved. If his wife would come around, for example, there's a distancing thing there that what's typical of the Chinese people. But when you walked in his house, he was like the most charming person you ever met in your life. He'd come up to me and say, Joe, feel my forearm. He's always trying to show me how tight his forearm. Then he'd pull up his shirt and show me his six-pack. Look at this. And then he'd show some new kick he was working on, like a high side kick or something like that. So he's always joking around, and that was very interesting for me.
I think if we look at what Bruce Lee accomplished in his life as far as in acting, in writing, in his martial arts, I mean, he's definitely an all-around individual. Look at his physique. I mean, how many people would like to have a physique like Bruce Lee? How many people would like to have the body of writing that he has? How about the accomplishments in martial arts skill? How about the film career? So I think all around, from nutrition to physical training to mental, he was way ahead of his time.
Bruce Lee, más que un artista marcial, fue un artista de la vida. Él siempre lo decía, me gustaría ser recordado no como un artista marcial, sino como un artista.
Being close to him and not just a student, but as a friend, I think I understand his feeling about his own martial art. I think he really wants his art to be sure as it is, and of course he want people to learn from him and continue on to improve, to try to be better with the martial art. I think he also would like us to be sure that at least follow the structure that he had developed to improve oneself's martial art.
In the figure of Lee, there is a hidden engagement with death, something extraordinary that lies in the collective subconscious that moves all to adore him. This kind of phenomena is not new. Great screen and singing stars like Elvis, Jimi Hendrix, or Marilyn Monroe became legends because of their untimely death. They left unpolluted, thus they live eternally in our memories, in the collective memory.
Es curioso el hecho de que incluso hoy en día, 30 años después de su muerte, todavía se siguen creando asociaciones y clubs de fan de Bruce Lee. Me llegan peticiones constantemente de nuevos clubs que se abren en Sudamérica y todas partes del mundo pidiéndome información y material sobre Bruce. Constantemente en Estados Unidos se están subastando sus pertenencias personales, el traje que utilizó en Operación Dragón, los nunchakos que sacó en tal o cual película. Existen miles de personas en Estados Unidos que celosamente guardan y coleccionan artículos de Bruce Lee y que a veces pagan millones y millones de dólares por lo que poseen.
Hace tan solo unos meses, un joven japonés nos contactó a través de internet. Él que estaba buscando cualquier cosa que tuviera que ver con Bruce Lee. Es un fenómeno que se ha dado muchas veces. Lo curioso es el efecto multiplicador que resultó de atender las peticiones de este joven japonés, que resultó ser un fan que estaba conectado con otros fans en Japón, donde la locura por Bruce Lee es espectacular. Y hemos conseguido, a través de esa atención a ese cliente, conectar con toda una red de amantes de Bruce Lee, que son auténticos devoradores de cualquier producto que lleve su marca impresa o su toque o su fotografía. Ediciones especiales de vídeos, ediciones especiales como Enter the Dragon, causan la fascinación de toda una serie de club de fans que persiguen todo lo que tenga la impronta de Bruce Lee, una foto o algo que tenga que ver en relación con su mensaje, con su filosofía y su trabajo.
A new generation of students of the art of Bruce Lee has entered with a renewed force in the scene of martial arts. None of them knew their grand master, no Siju, as they are called in China.
Bruce Lee enfatizaba mucho el ir más allá del material que nos dejó incluso él. A Dan Inosanto, mi maestro, siempre le decía, Dan, toma lo que te he dado y ves más allá. No te quedes solo con este vehículo. Es como un bote o un barco que te ayuda a cruzar el río. Una vez has cruzado el río, no tienes por qué cargar el bote a tus espaldas.
The truth is about experience. This is what JKD was all about, is experiencing martial art, not just learning techniques and following the instructor, but actually getting in there and experiencing for yourself. And so the same thing, if you want to know about a different culture, you need to go to that culture and really experience how they live, how they interact each day. So it's about experience.
Él hizo el hincapié en darnos la caña en lugar de darnos el pez. Y darnos la caña enseñándonos a usarla. Darnos la caña con la intención de que cada uno descubra aquellos matices que tiene su propia caña, aquellas habilidades o aquellos talentos que tiene y que están en potencia dentro de cada uno de nosotros y que no son siempre iguales. No todo el mundo tiene la misma habilidad con las piernas o con los brazos o la misma flexibilidad. Bruce Lee hizo mucho hincapié en esto, nos enseñó a buscar nuestro propio camino. Esta es, yo creo, su mayor aportación.
Bruce Lee knew how to overcome and conquer the new generations, even those who were born after his death. This could be because he embodied universal values that transcended time and space. Initiating unending controversies, Bruce Lee's martial inheritance is truly questionable. Questionable from the definition itself, from the principles. Bruce Lee did not structure a system. Rather, he unstructured all the systems, opening a new way where the individual creator reigns above the norms. Bruce Lee only lived but the bare spring of his lifespan, and spring is nothing else but a season in the changes of the cycles. With time, Bruce Lee would have gone through the same as happens to all of us, through a period of abundance, maximum expressions of the summer, and then he would have begun to retreat to simplifying into the autumn, and thus arrive at the winter of his life, to the minimum expression of the structures in his most compact and solid state. All systems, if they are not cut short, go through these phases until they reach a stage in which they are crystallized into formulas and rules, into guidelines to follow. Bruce Lee did not have time to get there. Bruce Lee always demanded much more of himself than what he could give. He overtrained, leaving traces in his physique, consumed by a demanding spirit and to a certain extent a tyrannical one. It looked as though he was in a rush, as if his death was waiting for him, as if they had a previous appointment and that something in him wanted to reach destiny, or perhaps flee from it through an inflamed present. On the 21st of July 1973, Little Dragon became great, enormous, and finally entered the legend. His teachings, his image, his personality continue alive among us, wrapped in a magical halo composed of the material with which dreams are made.